As you know or don't know, I am having a year of stuff between Eden and Fortresscraft 2. And this is one of the things I wanted to do. Try to work out what category should be in Twitch. Software and game development, there we go. I had an idea for a thing that I wanted to have a go at. I haven't started it yet, so this will be completely from scratch. The first thing I've realised is I've got, oh no, I was going to say, I thought I got my scale well off, but apparently not too bad. So yeah, well, because as you know, we've been doing these nightly streams. So if you've not come along to the nightly streams, do come along. They're a lot of fun. In it, we try and play a big variety of games. Put the hierarchy down here. So I get to play games I wouldn't normally play. And that's important because I don't play enough games. Playing games in the evening forces me to play games I wouldn't normally play. I find some brilliant games, sometimes not so much. Curious, by the way, will a capsule glider not just fall over? Yeah, absolutely will. Why would you give me that kind of glidey, silly game? So what I want is I want an object to be burnable. I will eventually do graphics to show that it's burning, but a burnable object will be able to burn for a while, set other things nearby on fire, explode and some such later on. Oh, I should really be in the live stream channel. I do mean to be. Oh, man, is there a word for unignited? So when we ignite idea, I think it'd be quite interesting. Right, like really could be really quite not fun necessarily to watch because it is stuff burning. But we, as human beings, we do like stuff burning, and there's we do very much enjoy, especially if it burns with pretty graphics, and pretty graphics are important. Stagnant, slumbering. Well, slumbering just means sleeping. I had to basically find royalty-free music I don't mind listening to. I'm working.
Oh, okay.
Do you not see the stream go up? Do you not follow me on YouTube?
What are you making?
I had an idea for something.
Oh no, not the lawnmower thing.
No, I quite like the lawnmower idea. Remember we played Ember on the stream? And the problem with Ember is the goal of the game is to steal as much stuff from the house before the house burns down. But you can put the house out, the completely Sicivian task. You definitely will lose. But the problem is that Max kept trying to put the fire out. And it's like, I want to put the fire out. That's not the game. The game just goes, look, stop it. You've got to steal stuff under the guise of the fire. So I thought I would write a little fire simulation this afternoon. It's been rattling around in my head. So in Ember, the goal was you had to basically keep the fire under control and steal as much from the house as you could, which was kind of funny, but the gimmick wore off quite quickly.
It's like called 60 seconds or something. You run around the house at the start of the game collecting stuff for a nuclear apocalypse, and you have to choose what you take with you.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
A little bit more to it than just the collecting stuff, because afterwards you're like using what you collected at the start and seeing how long you can survive.
I want to release a VR game, and I want to release a multiplayer game, and I keep getting sidetracked, and you're obviously busy with your project at the minute. The Dungeon Defenders clones just waiting. Was waiting on you mostly. A bunch of other projects that I'm waiting on other people for, so I thought I will give this a go.
What happened to the Sub-Commander one? Wasn't that a multiplayer VR thing?
I couldn't make it fun. That's the thing about games. Sometimes you really can't
execute on the concept.
Not necessarily. I was on the Burnout Reddit. I remember that video. So this was one of the things from Burnout that didn't make it in. And it's so cool. It's so cool. So the idea is that you do your power boost and you can smash roadway up so badly that on your next lap there is a really cool proper roadblock. Next lap, as you see here, what you see, you actually get to see the roadblock. And the idea was that on your next lap you'd have to dodge the roadblock. So the buildings will collapse, there's fire engines everywhere. It's such a cool idea that didn't work. Without exception, everyone would plough into the roadblock going, I wasn't there last lap. How's it going? DjArcas is correct. Super chats are actually just expensive text-to-speech. Right. I assume it was plugin.
I get the feeling that would probably work a bit better in one of those like more open world racing games where you're like street racing kind of thing, and like maybe like you get like a radio chatter in the background that says, "Oh, this part of the road's been blocked off."
Yeah.
But even then, yeah.
The point is, if I describe that to you, you go, "Oh, that's a cool idea. Oh, I like it. That's a super cool idea." Yeah. Then you try it again. Yeah. And remember, we tried it for a lot of time. So we really tried very hard to make it work, and we couldn't. And so, yeah, Sub-Commander was a game where initially you had a big rock-crawling machine that dries forever, and it's going along the seabed, and you have to keep giving it the resources it needs to progress, whatever it needs. And so the players had to fly out, pick up the resources, and bring it back, and it basically do mining. And then the sub driver actually got to see all the subs in VR on a hologram, but only he could see the resources, so he had to direct people to the resources. The problem was I just couldn't make it compelling. It's a good concept, and if I were to throw enough polish at it, it'd probably be all right. But that's one of the issues with writing games. Sometimes it's like, yeah, this doesn't really...
Sometimes it's better to start with a really good gameplay loop and explain it from there, rather than the other way around.
Or base the entire game around a gimmick. Power Wash Simulator. That's just a gimmick.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a gimmick. It's got a really cool way of washing grime off. And it's brilliant. And I love it. And it's absolutely brilliant. And it's a concept done really well, basically. Yeah, but I've played it now for 16 hours, so I've got my money's worth because it was 15 quid. It's thoroughly brilliant. It is a really, really, really relaxing game. I really look forward to playing it tomorrow night. Visceral Cleanup Detail had the very rare, beautiful combination of a great gimmick and a brilliant setting. So the setting in Visceral Cleanup Detail is you're the guy who goes around first-person shooter levels and cleans them up after the player's been. So you're picking up dead people, bits of bodies, bullet casings, dismembered aliens. You're cleaning off all the scorch marks, which is a great gimmick. It's brilliant, and it's a pretty good game to boot. And it's got that great gimmick. So it's interesting. It's a whole bunch of things come together. And this I think is a good gimmick. We're in full HDRP, so we should have all the shiny fancy graphics.
Woo! Volumetric lighting.
Yes.
So I wonder if you could take that visceral cleanup detail idea and apply that to different settings as well. Like, what if you took it and went, okay, you're playing as a medic in a battlefield in like a Call of Duty game. You're essentially playing like Surgeon Simulator while trying not to get shot at that point.
Respot all of the data pads the player would play. So it was like the behind the scenes of first-person shooter. I'll be honest, they didn't do that good a job most of the time. Most of the levels, they weren't that clever, but a couple of them, they really lent very deeply into the setting first-person shooter thing. DjArcas, if I could define what is a good game, if I could make games that are fun, I would be mind-blowingly rich, but I'm not, because no one knows what makes a fun game. No one can guarantee a good product at the end of it. That is the sad state of the reality of games.
Conversely as well, you can make the best game in the world, but with no marketing and no traction behind it still won't do well.
We've all played great games that no one's ever heard of. I mean, Fortresscraft is one of those. People go, "Oh, I can't believe this game didn't sell well. It's really, really good." And it's like, "Oh, thank you." I am quite good at putting together little useful collections, and I need the function to draw text above stuff. I'm pretty sure I shoved it into extensions in Future Defenders.
Thinking about this the other night, I need to make like a folder that's just full of random scripts that I keep reusing.
Yeah, I do that. A lot of developers will tell you they just write stuff they think is fun, and they, this game they're really passionate about. But you and I at DjArcas, we have played a lot of games. Now, would you say that a lot of those games, the developers really love them? Because they don't. They obviously don't. For a huge majority of games, it's a job. It's not a game they really, really love. They're not playing it because they really, really can't wait to get people to play this, whatever. It is very much a job. I mean, I'd say that like Terraria. I'd say the devs really love that game because you can feel they do.
With Terraria, it's more obvious because while it does bring in more sales if there's updates, they're probably not making that much more now when they're updating it. So I think that most people own the game.
Bear in mind, but the Terraria devs stopped work on it a very long time ago.
Logic now, isn't it? I guess.
It's 505. A lot of the games that I have written in my career, I would not play as a dev. Like one of the most successful games I've written, I wouldn't play, which is Amputee. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. It's awful. It's definitely not my cup of tea.
Are you just using standard Unity text, or are you using like Text Mesh Pro or something?
No, this is debug text. That would just be.
Oh right, okay. So yeah.
For a lot of games, the idea is you write a game that is going to sell.
What if you make this fire game like a PvP game where one team is the arsonists?
Almost definitely never write a PvP indie game. It's one of the things I tell to people. don't write. Werewolf then is the prime example. Games that are co-op is fine, because you can play it by yourself, but the more of you, the better. Versus, as a game mode, sure.
Versus modes tend to work a lot better when it's like a 1v1 or something, because as soon as it's teams, you're like super reliant on number of players.
I love this. I am only running one copy of Unity, by the way. And Unity goes, hey, which instance do you want to attach to? Let's guess this one. I like a guess. Even the original Projectorgames, for every 2 games I put up, I prototyped 20. I've mentioned this before, if I could upgrade my PC, I would. There is not a lot of upgrading left in this computer. I'm waiting for DDR5 and the new, is it 13th series of Intel CPUs? But like now, I've waited half a minute because I'm waiting for, I don't know.
Random loading bar. What is it waiting for?
The scene view that is being drawn. I noticed what I typed in is not what has appeared. It's similar to what's appeared. I want that
not good enough, though.
exact string. Yeah, here we go. Oh, it's on draw gizmos, that'd be why. My PC is still good, but when I... there we go. So when I have to wait, you see... I hate waiting. Just make that into a prefab. That'd be a burnables. But the idea is... I should be able to make one but burn, and then it will get hot. And if the thing nearby enough gets hot enough, it will catch. Don't want to wait ever on my computer. When I wait here, 3, 4, that's 4 seconds. That means every time I make a single line of code change, it's 4 seconds. So every 10 times, I've lost an hour.
Adds up.
Every 360 times, I've lost an hour. If an hour of my time is worth 50 quid, it does not take long before upgrading my computer works. Yay, it's burning. See, it has the word burning over it.
Now, does it burn in Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Celsius. Sphere cast or sphere overlap? Overlap sphere says compute source colliders. This says returns true if there are any colliders. Sphere cast doesn't say anything at all. I think that's the right function. Cast a sphere along a ray. Okay, that's a cast. Okay, so that's not what I want. You know, after all these years of working in nothing but trig, you think I would know off the top of my head between radius and diameter. This is the half. Is there a good way of memorizing that? But
the only way I started to remember it was an episode of Stargate SG-1 where he puts his finger in the middle and then just draws a line. I need strange ways to remember stuff like that.
Strange things are good ways to remember things, because the more memorable it is, the easier it is to remember it.
Well, I'm going to remember that radius and rate is half. And they both have A as a second letter. Oh, there's the D. You're saying is the straight line of the D, it goes all the way along. Yeah, that's terrible. I'm going to give you 3 out of 10 for that one. It is Visual Studio 2017. Now, Malcolm, I know you're about to say, oh, what? You don't use the new one. You give me one critical feature about Visual Studio 2019 that's better than 2017. One must-have feature that means I have to not use the thing Unity tell me to use. Remember, I've only just recently moved up from Visual Studio Express, and the only thing Visual Studio offers that Visual Studio Express doesn't is can switch thread context in the debugger. 2022 is 64-bit native. That will make no difference at all. But yeah, I use the version of Unity, Unity tell me to, because it goes wrong enough when they do that. And now I need to detect all things nearby. Slightly interesting issue is depending on the hierarchy of what I'm casting, it may have a collider or it may not. So if we don't get anything, and if that has associated rigid body may be higher in the hierarchy. So I may need to walk up to the rigid body. Did we have something to burn? I can have like barrels explode and then like explode through the level, and they'll land near new stuff and set it on fire. So this has one of the things that I want in the games. There are a few things I try and put into the games in this non-Fortress period, and one of them is hilarity and emergence. So if you're there putting out a fire and you've nearly got the barrel out and the barrel explodes, shoots off behind you into a whole bunch of unignited stuff, that's emergent and it's going to be hilarious and people will scream. I want to write a HDRP game, a high definition render pipeline, and I want to write a network game. So Fortress Phoenix will be using a completely different networking system. I have yet to release a game with it. I don't want to start on Fortress Phoenix without a year or two of learning all of the new stuff that's happened. And that's quite important. Should I just add 10% of our current temperature? Like, how quickly should stuff ignite, roughly?
Why don't you just use the real-world physics of what a pressure vessel needs to be before it ignites the fuel inside?
Because in reality, metal spaceships don't burn. Not going to work very well. One barrel will ignite, and its temperature will go up. And when its temperature gets high enough, all things within 5 meters will also catch fire. And it's coloured up red. So this should draw a red circle, 5 meters big around here. Maybe a wireframe spear might be a better idea. I mean, every so often Unity just says, hey, you should upgrade to this version of Unity, and I do. I don't think about it, I just do it. So, and I want to print out the temperature.
I'm old enough to remember when Unity was new, and it was the bastard step shell that most people didn't want to use. And considering the games that are coming out today, even AAA games are made on Unity.
Oh, yes. I mean, Unity, the thing is about Unreal is everybody knows the game's in Unreal. You know, I mean, I won't talk about the Matrix because it is, quite frankly, astounding. But that is not really fair. The very, very best people at Epic working on the next generation one showing how good it was. If you've not seen it, do check out the Matrix demo. It's something else. But the thing is, I can name lots of Unreal games. And people always talk about the good ones. But the amount of shitty indie games I've played that are in Unreal and they've turned everything on and they barely manage 30 frames a second. I'm like, yeah, okay, but we've been playing Power Wash Simulator and that's been in Unity. There have been a lot of games in Unity. Okay, so it's now burning. See it getting hotter? That's how temperature works. And every... Why is the ignite tick not going up? Tick greater than... Oh, whoopsie. Minus equals 1F.
Does the radius always stay the same, or do you have the radius grow as it gets hotter?
That's a good question.
Area effect. Because that might be a bit too chaotic if it does, I guess, but it's also kind of realistic, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to sort of play with almost like dominoes of stuff going up. So the idea is I want to get this basic thing to work and then add some graphics in and then just sort of have a play.
You're going to mess with like shader graph and stuff?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That's very red.
Yes, because I've just put a red light in the corner of the room. So that's not working. Oh, it's burned out. Oh, first of all, let's make them burn for 100 seconds, not 10. I had a good idea, and the idea is rattling around in my brain, so I thought I'd work on it. And I thought I would just share it because I do a lot of programming. I just don't normally stream it, but I should, and I know I should, and I'm a bad person. Okay, so this has collided with 4 things. What are the 4 things it's collided with? It has collided with wall 1, ceiling, barrel and barrel test. Cool. So therefore, that doesn't have a burnable. That's fine. It doesn't have a rigid body. Whoops, it's because I typed in return rather than continue. I want to ship a multiplayer game. I want to ship a HDRP game. I want to ship a VR game. This is one of the few that sort of ticks all those boxes. But I suspect what will happen. In reality, I suspect Fortress Phoenix will be delayed about 6 months, and I will ship about 4 more games than I was planning to. That's what I think will actually happen, but I will try to make that not happen.
What's the release date for the new Fortress Craft?
I only know the start date. Release date is, when it's done.
When's the start date?
October. So 1 year after the last game I worked on came out. It didn't go very well. But I got paid. I got paid a lot of money, so, I'm happy. Part of me thought that I might spend, a decade working on Eden. Oh, right. Oh.
Oh, you're like, no, it was successful.
That worked. On the right begins to burn. And then the one on the left, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter until it catches too. So it's burning. So in theory, you see, you should be able to hose it down with water and keep stuff from catching fire, just like a real fire. There you go. This is now at 729 degrees. This one is unignited at 1 degree. But this seems to have some sort of mad runaway temperature effect. Wait, what? What's the ignition? Oh, whoops. Ignition range. Ignition temperature. I said it caught fire when it hit 5 degrees C, which is definitely wrong. But if stuff doesn't catching fire and exploding does not interest you, then this is the wrong stream. But I also need to stream Stinky Spacious Element. I know I've been hiding it all away. I just don't like showing stuff till it's ready. But this is so far from being ready, no one could go, oh wow, is this something, this is obviously...
I'm out tomorrow, right?
Yeah, there you go. So it's possibly a bit slow. In fact, it's so slow it probably will never catch fire. So it needs to hit 1,000 degrees C before it hits. So I don't need to sew per second. How do I? I also need to make sure the scripts are stored safely up on the version server. The moment anything even works, stick it somewhere else. Because if I lost everything now, I'd be like, ugh, just lost an hour's work. One guy I worked with got sacked because he didn't back his code up for 2 weeks, didn't commit for 2 weeks, and then his computer crashed. Yeah, lost 2 weeks worth of work. They sacked him because they're like, you have to commit every night. That's probably not quite right, is it? It's working. Wrong. I removed the wrong time step. So that should add 150. But if I had a pile of paper would ignite much faster. Pile of iron would slower. I have got nice graphics. The plan is to make it have nice graphics, but I'm going to try and stick with simulation for the moment. Okay, this is going to be pretty cool. And pop. This is one of my favourite things. Quick action scratching, add missing cases. So it adds in all of the cases for me, which is so nice. And if I add one, it just I can extend it. It's one of my favourite things. I say I'm old enough to remember when IntelliSense was a third-party add-on that was £1,500 a seat from Whole Tomato. I'm also disregarding distance right now, but I don't necessarily need to overcomplicate the algorithm. So this is one thing I was not disappointed by Power Wash Simulator, but it would have been nice in Power Wash Simulator if you initially hosed something that didn't reduce its dirtiness, but it made it wet, so when you came back to it, coasted on. I think Power Wash Simulator is just complicated enough to be interesting, but in this one, if I put in so that things only ignite based on distance, do you care? So there, that's making all the nearby ones warm. But yeah, so in this case, we probably do want a distance factor because it's warming up all of those barrels at exactly the same rate. The distance is, and yes, I know it should be inverse square law. I don't care. When you're at full distance, you're at 1. When you're at minimum distance, you're at 0. So I invert that. Inside the barrel, the distance is 1, and when you're at maximum distance, the distance is 0. Then multiply it by that. But the effect is now scaled by distance. Now this probably means I need to increment the distance because stuff will go. But I'm hoping if I set fire to the middle one, the fire should burn. So that should start off green and fade to red as it gets closer to igniting. Well, that's what I've got good at Unity now. I've now memorised all the helper functions, which makes things a lot quicker. Rather than going, how do I lurk between two colours? Just colour.lurk. Unity do not write enough helper functions. There we go. So it's now burning, and the other ones nearby should start to move. Yes, there you go. This one's at 300, this one's at 130. Now I might actually want to use inverse square, which is actually very easy. Oh. So there's a bug. When I say ignite, I set the current temperature to 20. That doesn't make any sense. I will default the temperature to 20. But yes, you're quite right. As they caught, they went back down to minimum temperature. There we go. Okay, so let me twiddle with this light over here, because this was just a test light. So I've got this thing that in HDRP, you need to balance the lights correctly, which is a pain in the fucking arse. So right now, this room is incredibly dark. Actually, Brett, you might be able to help me here. This room is almost entirely dark. Okay, forget the fact that it looks light, it's not. So when Unity there's nothing for it to reflect, it drops down the hierarchy to the lowest level of the hierarchy, which is the sky. So for some reason, it thinks that I have a sun. I don't. So here's my directional light. It's off. So this what you're seeing here. If let me just make a chrome sphere. I fixed this before because Defenders, and I was pleased because for some reason I didn't need to make everything ultra bright and foggy. Let me just clear the bait data a sec.
I'm just letting the stream catch up.
But if I just make this material chrome, that's what something that's completely reflective looks like, because it should be using this render probe. Now I do also have render probe proxies, which I've never used before, but anything within here should be using this real-time render probe, which is black. Like if I make it baked, that's fine, I can bake it. And now everything should be red because the reflection probe is red. So, but it's obviously, that's still the Unity sky it's reflecting, isn't it? It's blatantly, obviously the Unity sky. And for some weird reason, this is solid black. So you also have the issue, if I get too close to something black, everything else goes white because you've got the Unity's eye adaptation. I don't know if I should keep eye adaptation on though. I really don't. Because I can turn eye adaptation off. So I've turned the exposure off. I just need to balance everything correctly.
Does it let you keep it on and then just tweak the amount it does it? Because you could just have to do it like a tiny amount.
Well, yeah, because currently it will adapt between an interior scene and about a sunlit scene. So it's expecting dark scenes. The problem you've got, and I've had this before, when it's too dark, if the reflection map isn't dark, like the sky, it will go, it's bright. So if you're inside a dark room, because you're inside a safe or a vault, but the sunshine outside is bright and there's nothing to reflect against, it will fall through to the sky reflection, even though there's no way you can see the sky. I was going to go for fancy. Screen space reflections. I do want screen space reflections. Once this works, it's fine. Once you've got it sorted, it is all good. Anything else I need to tweak, though, is there? It's just... And I would like to do RTX, but that is something that's the sort of thing I would just go, hey, Brett, make RTX work as a sort of an atomic task.
I'm not actually messed with it, to be honest.
Neither have I. Last time, oh my god, I looked at it and I basically went, yeah, sod off Unity. There's no way I am doing this. Like, you need to seriously fix it. I now have no lights in the scene.
That's quite lit to me.
I want it to be black. I want this to be pure black. So the reflection probe is now black. But as you can see, we have a sun. So if I turn the sun off, we get this skybox.
Why don't you just make a custom HDRI sky and that's just black and just set it to HDRI sky?
But hold on. Lighting, static lighting sky none, and then inside here HDRI sky is ticked. Yeah, there we go. That should do it. Right, there we go. Oh, Unity. Right, now everything is black. That's what I want. I realize it's not ideal, but now I can turn on this red point light. There we go. And that's lighting things up, and that now looks
very pretty.
Brilliant. And I will turn on the...
Ray tracing.
I'll turn on a real-time reflection map, which is fine. You can't have volumetrics on area lights. I was like, what? But that's one of the things I would actually really want. I can have a nice area light, which are very cool. So I can now have lights that are of completely arbitrary shapes. It's great. And in real time. And it goes on and on in the documentation how brilliant it is. You don't need to bake them anymore. And I'm like, but I want to bake the lights. I don't want to have real-time lights. I know that sometimes you do, but quite often you don't. Area lights are what you would use for ray tracing as well, because these have all very nice penumbras and fall-offs and all of those sorts of...
Wait, is it the wrong way up?
Oh, no, it's the wrong way up. It would be lighting the ceiling, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's not very bright, but I want to enable volumetrics, but I can't. So what you can do, in a very dumb sort of way, is then directly underneath it put a spotlight. Well, this is the thing. I've had to do this in Unity before. Have multiple lights on top of each other doing different things, because Unity pretty bright. That's 40,000 lumen, so that's good. That means I now have volumetricsness at 5,000 lumens. Well, that's about the same as a projector.
Let's Projectorgames.
Very good. But it's 180 degrees. So if I do one that's a bit more like that,
a 2D light that lets you change the shape of it does let you use volumetrics.
Unity, sometimes they do stuff maybe without thinking. So the spotlight is actually producing almost no light at all, whereas the ceiling light is producing all the volumetrics. You can see that's casting a shadow through the volumetrics. So Fortress Craft should have quite extensive volumetrics, because they work really well when you are deep in a cave. That should look fantastic. Let us add to the barrels a Burnlight. The plan for this is to have the game entirely real-time lit. As something catches fire, the lights go out. So when you are playing it, multiplayer, I hope, other people are going to have to aim spotlights for you or bring proper lights in, because you won't be able to see. So if I make this cast shadows, it will cast its own shadow. But if it's an object that's just on fire, I kind of... Oh, no, actually, that might work. So if I make the Burnlight red... Why is it not casting any shadows at all? I probably should make it a lot brighter. I don't want it to cast shadows on itself, you see? But if I put it in the middle of it... Oh, it's not. If I have a more complicated object, it probably will, though, because there will be some polys. I'm just sitting there going, I don't know. Yeah, so I have a more complicated object, which I notice is not centered. This looks very cool. Look at the volumetrics coming out the base of the barrel. If I put the light in the middle, it will start casting weird, and that looks really cool, but wrong. So I want the object to look like it's on fire, not that the object has got a light on it. Now I can twiddle with the near plane, so that means that nothing within, let's say, 2 meters of the light will cause a shadow. I have no idea, realistically, if I can start running all of these, if I hit apply, with lights.
Well, in non-HDRP, isn't there usually a limit to the number of point lights you can have? Unless you up that limit in settings.
That's forward. This is
Forward,
deferred.
right,
So
right.
in deferred, we can have unlimited lights.
Right.
I'd say quite literally, but actually, literally, you can have unlimited
Yeah.
lights. Your limiting factor is the number of pixels that you're covering. Lots of lights that are only tiny, it's essentially free. Lots of lights that are huge, it's very, very expensive. This will probably become under expensive. Grab that back, so I can set it in the editor, but that means that when I'm working, I would have to work with all of the barrels in the entire game on fire, which is probably going to be a little bit difficult to work with.
You tie the brightness to how hot it is.
No, because it doesn't glow. As you run out of time, I'll die it down at the end and stuff like that. But now we're getting out of the realms of simulation into the realms of, look at the cool graphics. Why haven't I got anything achieved towards the game?
If you've got a match that's burning and you shine a light at it onto a wall, what do you see on the wall? The silhouette of?
Heat distortion. Does plasma just not block light? Does a plasma field not stop light particles getting through at all?
Nothing is pure fire.
match.
It's the fuel source. For example, a match, you have soot in it. That causes a shadow.
Take a partially ionized plasma and then only illuminate it with a lamp that emits photons at a discrete resonant frequency corresponding to the particular atomic ionic transition of the plasma, then it could be much sparser and it will cast a shadow. Boom!
Whatever. Geek.
Now the fire should burn out over the course of its lifetime. So it will turn on when it starts to burn and then turn off when it's done. All the lights in the game can be burnt out. You'll have to provide lights. Like we had in Icarus, one of the cooler things was when I was in a cave chopping down rocks, but I could then someone else had to hold the torch. That's actually pretty cool. I like co-op games with role-based stuff, so you can focus a bit more on the thing you or your character specializes in, and not have to worry so much about what should I be doing at this point. Your role is go get the lights. Cool, done.
Yeah, or also everyone competing to try and do the same bit.
The lights should now fade out. Oof, there we go.
DRP. As it works, it does look way prettier.
DjArcas is glorious. It's worth doing. I say that if they put volumetrics into URP, I probably wouldn't bother.
They're actually going to knock themselves around, or?
Yeah,
Oh dear.
it's just caught fire.
When are you going to simulate wind that moves each object's heat radiation sphere?
I mean, I could. So this is one of those that just because I could doesn't mean I should. So that's not that hard to. I mean, I'm using a sphere, but I could always bias the sphere however I wanted. Move that a bit closer, make things burn a bit quicker. I just want them to jiggle and occasionally fall over. You'll probably never notice.
See, that's
it.
quite good.
Yeah. Oh wow. It burns out without saying anything else on fire. Instead, things do burn for a random period of time, so it's not fixed. So that does mean the levels aren't necessarily going to be the same each time. Some things are very hard to do in the normal update, and one of them is reducing a value by a scalar. So I want to reduce it to 99% of itself, but this code executes once a frame. So this means that if you're running at 1,000 frames a second, it will work very, very, very differently, whereas this code always executes 50 times a second. One thing I will do is if you put water on an object, its temperature will drop. So you can stop, you should be able to put water breaks down. Now, quite how I'm going to show this to the player without implementing thermal imaging is beyond me. I wasn't planning to put any flaming arrows in.
Oh.
The problem is that everything is cooling off. It's cooling off a little bit quickly. Now, to be more realistic, what I would actually have to have here is divide the world into cells and have the cells absorb the ambient temperature of the burnables, so therefore things can't drop below the ambient. But there's probably not actually any point in implementing this. Like, it would work, but you can't tell. That looks a little bit disturbingly, but that's fine. And then I'm going to do an ignite effect, as I need to pull across a particle system, just to show, poof, you've caught fire. And then, hopefully, that should all tie in a little bit better. And then I can start to build a little bit of world, because I need the world to catch fire, not just barrels. So
has he created a perpetual motion machine here?
it's probably got, it's got almost no angular drag. And almost no drag. Usually worth adding a little bit, because adding a little bit means objects cannot get numerically unstable. I love this. So if I type in random dot, it suggests, and I type in ran, it suggests two functions, random range and range, one of which is deprecated. So I have to use this one. But that one appears first in the list. So I always have to hit down to type that. One of those.
Thanks, Unity.
Remove the old function, Unity. It's fine. You deprecated it about a decade ago.
Yeah, it's been deprecated for a long time.
Yeah, so now the light's flickering. Well, that's pretty good, actually. One of the things that I do struggle with is these particles are very good. So pretend for a moment that this quad is a particle. As I face it towards the light, it gets bright.
Yeah.
And if I face it away from the light, it gets dark, obviously. Now, if it's transparent, it has the issue that if my camera is here, that quad will look bright. Whereas if I put the camera behind it, because the quad, the light, the particle is on, it's facing away from the camera, it's black. And it's really annoying when... So they're transparent as in they're rendered partially alpha'd, but they are facing away from the light source, therefore they're dark. I don't want there to be any directional lighting, just distance lighting, because it's a particle, it's a sphere, it's equally lit, and I seem to struggle to get this.
Have you tried the Unity input system yet?
I have to. That's what Sneaky Spaceships is using. I have no choice. You have to use it to use VR.
I didn't think it was that bad, but I haven't used Rewired or anything, so it's hard.
Are you joking me? I have not used anything so badly written in a great many years. It makes me very, very angry how appallingly over... You saw the code I wrote. It's obviously written by a fucking student. That's the issue. This is written by somebody with no oversight from an experienced programmer. What the fuck does that mean? I have 12 years of programming in C#. I have 20 plus years of C languages. I have 40 plus years of programming. And look at this going, what? Like, what? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, all the way through, this code is atrocious. Really, 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 what the fuck are you doing, Unity? I should never, ever be presented with code that looks like it's written by someone who's just graduated university. It's all full of the wonder and possibilities of the latest iteration of C#, and start to jam stuff into the second or possibly largest game development engine in the world. That's not what I want to see. That terrifies me that someone was allowed to shove that in. I've just looked a bit of code out of a VR game and it's complaining that it doesn't know what VR is. We had a very, very strong rule in all of the AAA games I've written, which is you do not fail gracefully. This is very important. Failing gracefully means stuff goes wrong and you carry on, and then it goes really wrong and you go, I don't know why it's gone really wrong. So don't write code that will call a function called fire unless you don't have a function called fire, in which case don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, it's fine. No, terrible. Utterly terrible.
When will this happen? Is it because the particle is rotating on the vertical axis, or is it because the light source is moving?
Neither. So in this case, well, in this case, we've got particles. So here, imagine for a second those particles are transparent. They're coming towards me. So these particles start on this side of the light source, and they move to that side of the light source. The problem is that they'll be bright when they're over there, and the moment they get past the light source, they'll go dark because they're being lit from the back. They're not transmissive. They're transparent, but not transmissive.
Well, they're sort of one-sided, aren't they?
The brightness calculation is not much more than a dot product.
Are there any particle shaders that might have the option to make them?
Possibly. This is the thing. As a rule of thumb, I'm very happy to just buy stuff. Like, if someone solved this, I'll just buy it. You know, oh no, it's €10. It's much quicker for me to just buy a good solution.
In the standard Unity ones, to be honest, but...
No, there isn't.
Is there not? Oh,
no. Unity don't do a very good job at supplying you everything that you need. They expect people to write it for them. Yeah, so they have a completely new particle system, and quite frankly, I refuse at this point to learn a new particle system. Shuriken is a decade old. Remove Shuriken, now it's called image effects, and that's cool because it is fully GPU based, but I'm not quite to the point where I'm like, oh god, I have to learn this all from scratch. I have spent 10 years getting very good at Shuriken.
I have to comment on this. When I worked in a factory, the old timers would always say, no, we've done it this way for X number of years. We'll keep doing it this way, even though there's a better modern way to do stuff.
I try very hard, where possible, to embrace new things. I do, because it is important, and I have seen people get very hidebound and very stuck in their ways, and that's bad. The problem is, the new one, they've just introduced it, not told anyone about it, and then they said, oh, we're not supporting the old one, and everyone's like, what new one? What they should have done is then provided you with a ton of examples, enough to make lots of indie games, but they haven't. They've done almost nothing at all. It's very odd. I do want to learn it, but this is one of those that I would have to do a whole stream. Hello, this stream is me doing a day of just doing image effects.
In old games, or even modern games, where you have shrubbery and stuff, and you have just two planes at 90 degrees.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
To accommodate every angle, you're looking at it from every angle, it still looks like a shrub. You don't get a sideways on problem because there's always...
Remember, it's looking at the camera wire, you can see. It's a whole bunch of quads that always look at the camera.
Yeah.
Particles that don't use directional lighting at all. Yeah, that looks alright, doesn't it? You can see the particles move along, and as they get closer to the light source, they get brighter. And then I put the light the other side of the particles, and you can see the particles. Obviously, as the particles twist towards the camera, they all get dark, and that's not what I want. I want the light source to be lighting through the particles. People mix up translucent and transparent. So does Google.
Is subsurface scattering kind of what you want, though? You want light to go through it, kind of like in the same way.
Yeah, but that's starting to get very expensive. I'd need to just sample the brightness at that point, which could probably be done. I don't feel I should be writing it myself, and it would probably take some time.
It'd be nice if the solution was just a tick box, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, it should be. That's the stupid thing. It should be a tick box. It should not be what I'm having to do. I mean, I can also render it different ways, because this is billboard. If I can render them as mesh, it kind of works. Camera-facing ones are rotating towards me. I love the specularity that it's getting, but I'll worry about that.
What happens if you make them emit more than 0?
It looks rubbish. Just a brightness boost. That just means they all get brighter by a certain amount. So ones in the wrong place are still dark. This is quite important, and this is something I do have to solve for Fortresscraft. I absolutely do. Because I need... Like, this gets the main light, which is cool, but I need a... oh, here we go. There is a function to get all of the lights.
You know what the best part of this is? You know that as soon as you manage to fix it, Unity will put a fix out after you've done it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, quite literally, it's this function here, which just... all this does is run over all of the lights and get their attenuated light colour. But all I would need to do is just get its... brightness, but I might actually be able to do it here, but I don't know whether or not this function will work. Now, that is, I've seen a lot of bad dialog boxes in my time, but this one is right up there. Oh my, you are joking me, right? You are fucking joking me. It's a fucking graphic. I can't paste that into my
you can on a Mac. On Macs now, you can just select text in images.
Really? Ooh. Not that I don't believe you, but really?
Yeah, 100%. You can. 100%. Great.
I have to try it. So I've just pasted that into the Discord, and I'll open it on my phone. Yeah, you're talking complete bollocks.
The URL for the page, and I'll do it for you.
It's also missed out the curly braces, which is...
That'll be formed.
Sort this shambles out. To quote Ashens, Dr. Ashens, when he reviewed the Neo Geo Pocket, the Neo Geo joystick, he goes, this joystick is fucking shocking. And that is absolutely fucking shocking. The anti-copy, this is the documentation.
Yeah. There was some fanboys.
No! But I want to skip part of it, you see. I want all of the bits up to the lighting Lambert. Lambert? Is it Christopher Lambert or Christopher Lambert?
He's French, isn't he?
He is.
I came across this one. His solution was make them unlit.
Like an explosion is fine, but I want something that's lit by the light. You want to get good at programming? Get good at Googling. Oh, it's to do with tiling textures. It's nice, though. It means you can tile a texture randomly, but not randomly. Step up from trilinear. So you've played games with triplanar shading, Icarus, and it looks shit from a bunch of angles. This solves that. I found is I have repeatedly searched for issues with the Unity, and there's one thing worse. There's only one thing worse than someone going, "Oh, I found the solution, never mind," and not telling you. And that is when you come across me from 5 years ago going, "Did you find a solution?" This is on the last fucking post. That's the issue summed up better than I could have. This is supposed to be something non-lit, because there is stacklit. So stacklit is transmissive stuff. But I have a funny feeling this is way, way too expensive to consider. Keywords uses a translucent material output, right? I don't know what that means. And the proper dispersion profile from it. Can you please explain your solution again? So the reason I didn't search translucent is not a word you'd use. Not a Unity term, it's not a rendering term. It's more like to do with, fancy panes of glass. So I don't know how these work. So we're going to go on the adventure together. So those are the old particles. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create... Now instantly, none of my code will work this. I will need to rewrite all of my particle manager code. But hey, and we're going to add an visual effect, which for some reason is a little picture of a fucking magic lamp. Visual effect, smoke particles. Oh yeah, I remember. So this is how they expect you to do it. Now, do you notice anything missing on this screen? Oh yes, the ability to see anything I'm doing. Wow, it seems to be putting out a lot of clocks. I'm running at 1440p, and I apologise to you watching on the stream. I can't read that. In fact, if I make it so I can read it, it no longer fits on the screen. And I get this with shader graph. You sometimes have to zoom in and out constantly going, there is a very bad waste of space. But these are GPU based. So that is good. They love their packages. Unity is now a jigsaw of stuff rather than one monolithic thing.
Ironic calling it Unity then.
But hopefully there's something a little bit like smoke here I can use as a base. It's showing me the axes it's using. It's green for up and red for X. Almost everything. It shows play if you're currently playing and shows pause if you're currently paused.
Oh, yeah.
Disney Plus shows the state it will change into if you click on it. Maybe it's be lit. Aha! Now we're cooking with evil gas. Oh, I changed the rate. Right, sorry. When it said rate, I thought that meant emission rate, not playback rate. Is it lit? I can't tell. It's near something red, but it's not actually being lit red. Now, don't get me wrong. I love shader graph. Shader graph, I've been doing shaders for 25 years. It made, I don't know what it's doing now, but shader graph made everything I have spent 25 years learning obsolete overnight, and it's brilliant, and I love it. It is amazing. This, on the other hand, is not. I think so, yes, I think it's USB 3.
You might be overloading your USB port.
Oh, I think I unticked auto. This is awful, having to zoom in and scroll around. The other thing is, hey, let's search for... Oh, I can't search. Do they really think this is easier? This is the other thing. In the old particle system, I can just drag the numbers around and it changes. Maybe if I do this, but I do change something, it's going to sit there and twiddle for a couple of seconds. I don't want to have to sit here and learn an entire system. I just want something a bit like the old system, but better. Right, here we go. Size over life. Aha. Why do I have to tick it? What's the tick box for? Why is it not an inline curve? Why can I not set the top of the... Just because you're going backwards at times. This is aimed at artists. This is so artists can mess around with stuff without having to write code. And I get that, but I'm not even sure artists would be particularly happy with that. Let me turn off all the lights for a moment and see if it goes black. It does not.
Is that an animated texture on those particles?
Yes. I've got some really nice ones. I always use them because they always look better. I love there's no pictures. For something that's purely shader based, it's just text.
Earlier you were complaining that it was pictures instead of text. Now you want the moon on a stick.
Yes. Oh, right. So the fact it's an octagon is because it's not a quad. It's an octagon. I suppose saves a little bit of fill rate. This bonfire effect. Can I just scale it? Oh, I can just scale it. Okay, I've got to give it that. I hit edit. Oh my lordy. This is the thing. I have found with shader graphs, the moment they get complicated, it gets really horrid.
You are just used to thinking in lines of code.
I adapted to shader graph very quickly though. Like very. I love shader graph. It's brilliant. When you do particles, there's a bunch of things you always do. If I look at the old particle system, like it's very straightforward because it has all the things you might want to do here. Color, emitter speed, size, lights. It has all the things you want to do. Brilliant. So I can just go, I want to do this, I want to do this. But with the effect system, I seem to have to invent the wheel every time from start. And that's what I don't understand. So I have to create something called random direction over time. I have to add a Perlin noise. Like, what? Why would you do this? Just say the old system had this. I don't know why you would want to do these. Oh, there's a subgraph for the... see, underneath each of those, and we're back down to this thing. Cannot put into words how much I hate watching YouTube videos, tutorials about things. I might have to.
As your search result, you'll get a YouTube video. It will find your search terms in the subtitles, auto-generated or otherwise. Clicking on your search result will take you to that part of the video.
I want to download your effect and just see, because kind of does look like it might be lit. Oh no, he's just fading it. I don't want to make... I just want to have a look at how someone else has put together a shader graph and sort of go from there. Which is for some reason... Yeah, I can just go that there we go. That will no longer blow around now. Good lord, look how long it takes. There you go, then I'll go straight up. I wouldn't have them as one visual effects graph that does three things either. That's a very odd way of doing things because it means you don't have all the control you want. The worst thing is I can't look on the right hand side and do it as I'm doing this. So normally I can grab a slider and drag it and watch the effect. 7 seconds when I make a change to particles to get feedback, as opposed to 0 seconds. Unreal uses this stuff, and that's why Unity does it. I don't think this is better than the old system. I think they should have just made it so you use the same interface that we've been used to and has done me proud for a long time, and then under the hood convert that across to compute shaders. This is an output data octagon, not an output particle lit. Can I just drag this in? It'll go, hey, you want to do that? No. This has got flipbook, and this doesn't. Oh yeah, there we go. We got teeny tiny broken liking particles. The output particle octagon had set size over life, but if I do size, and I can do that one, okay. Did I just click on the wrong place? That seems to be an awful lot more options. I just assumed I'd just be able to hook it in. This is the thing. It doesn't know what this is, so it can't smartly create it when I drag it in. Can I copy paste those? I can. Oh, I can copy paste that, and I can copy paste that. Right, that's good. And I should better hook those up. But this is... hold on. I have to hit UV mode, flipbook blend. There we go. Right, so now I can hook flipbook up. It's abstracted everything to the point where it doesn't really know what the fuck's going on anymore. So hopefully I can delete that, and everything should be hooked up. But all I've done, literally all I've done, is effectively tick the box mark lit. I mean, I can't see the particles anymore, which is a bit of an issue. And because they're GPU, I can have that nice outline. Can't do that anymore because it's a pure GPU effect. Unity doesn't even understand this. But now I have the issue, it's not rendering anything, and I've literally zero idea why. This is the thing about climate change. I wish it was global warming. Global warming's fine. The issue behind climate change is that we will end up with more extreme weather events. For example, churches that have been standing for hundreds of years get blown down, as is what happened today. The Millennium Dome's been up 23 years, 24 years. Project view. And I open up inside here. So each output, each visual effect has a shader that it's made itself and a bunch of code. Now the issue I have with this, as I said, it's the iteration time. Now this is what really disappoints me. Nobody asked for a situation where we are waiting 7 seconds for an iteration. This is too much. That is 1,000 times too slow. I need to be able to tweak stuff in real time. Once I've got smoke kind of working, I can just use it in future games. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's interesting. I think that might... So it's not working yet, but I can at least see the particles now. So I need to change the lighting to be transparent. I don't want to have to do this shit. This is why I use Unity, so I can just go, add transparent smoke. Done. Not... What am I messing around with? Oh my... So, as I said, this pops up full screen like that. So, it looks like there's a whole bunch of extra bits and bobs that hide in the inspector. Set material type. Simple lit translucent sounds good to me. Maybe this will turn into a game. At the minute, this has turned into a due diligence exercise about Unity's brand new visual effects system. Which is good and all, but not really what I wanted. 12 by 12, I think? No, 16 by 16. Still no. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 8 by 8. I'm learning stuff I didn't really want to learn. I do like learn. Oh, that looks... Oh. That looks better, I think. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, it was just the volumetrics making it look right. Volumetrics on. Keep them off a moment. So the issue is that we're trying to resolve was that. I mean, that looks super cool, but that's mostly to do with the angle of the light rather than... That's kind of the effect I'm going for. I do need to do more dev streams. The problem is I keep working on stuff that I don't feel is ready to show. This is so early. I mean, I started this project today. This is so early. No one is going to go, oh, cool, is this a game that's coming out soon? What I'm doing is it's called due diligence. This is making sure I understand how I'm going to do stuff for Fortress Craft 2. So if I take skin... Ugh. So this is the state-of-the-art rendering, though. This proper AAA high-end. So if I call this smoke diffusion profile, why is it red? Why is my scattering distance kind of a pink colour? Oh, because it's skin. Let's make it white. Because this is brightly lit. The point is it should be allowing the light through. To check, this is doing something, right? None of this seems making any difference to the point I'm wondering if it's using it. The better thing to say is well-written games should not require a beefy computer. This is a lot of the problem with the Unity stuff. This is not documentation. This is index of refraction, sets the index of refraction. Max radius, sets the max radius. This is very, very unhelpful. So please note that I have got these huge dialogues with hundreds of pop-outs and no search function. I also have the issue that I'm now at the point where the number of people who would have any clue what the hell I'm doing is dropped to very small. Let me just try making a cube a moment. Can I just put the fire texture on that? Because that does have a shader, but not material. Okay. And smoke is not something I could assign to this cube. The thing I dislike about this is I'm going to have to fiddle with this till it works. And in the future, it will happen again. And I'll have to fiddle with it for slightly less time till it works. And I dislike having to just throw time at things. I was hoping just to get on with the idea. So you can imagine your ore extractor, you can't see it, but you can see the light it's creating in the haze. It's very important that when you're standing behind it, it's not bloody black. What you do, you're setting up for how far light travels through something, a thick object, how much of its power it loses. And I'm really concerned this is an outrageously expensive effect, but I'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because GPUs are cheap. And if I change it to specular colour and then hit save, surely I'll see something different. Well, it disappears. I guess that's a start. No, it's compiling. There you go. So I've changed the lighting mode entirely to specular colour. So I'll use expensive translucent. So I'll hit save, then compile.
And yeah, this all looks really cool, apart from...
You've got the specular lit, and then you've got the, I'll say ambient lit, and then this almost looks like a negative colour. Like, is this the opposite of green or something?
Like the smoke has filtered it.
So I could say, be made out of skin. There we go, so that has changed. Turn off that light. So I don't think I've got any lights. Oh, that's this light causing, that's the spotlight. So the point light actually appears to be working correctly. But I won't mess with that for the moment. But that's kind of what I want. If there's a bright red light behind the smoke, I want to see the smoke going through. That looks really cool. Is it the area light causing me grief? Yes, it was the area light. Right, okay, so area lights don't seem to work with that. See, that looks... Oh, it's moody and atmospheric. I love it. Why is this game so dark? Right, so now let's have the spotlight. See, that's good. Ceiling spot over. Be nice if they cast shadows, but, you know, let's... see, that looks really good. So now I need to fiddle... Well, what I could do is I can go to the skin profile. Can I not copy all the... Are you fucking shitting me? Are you genuinely joking me? It doesn't have a copy. Fine. I will just recreate my one from scratch then. If I change this, is it going to change in real time? Because if not, I'm going to get very angry. So I have to, after every change, hit compile. That looks super awesome. When it's like that, and it's just about lighting, that looks great. But it's still way too directional. I want it to let through everything. A lot of the reason I ship games and other people's don't is just a complete and total bloody mindedness. Like, I'm not giving up, and it can't stop me. I'm liking it. That's what I want. That's the effect I want. But I want that effect to work no matter where the red light is, and no matter where I am in relation to the red light. The thing is, the correct solution is the one I posited at the start, which is I should be able to sample the light from that point in the world and use that to light the vertexes. I will probably go back to that. As what we're doing here is proper rays and subsurface scattering. This is enormously expensive. I'm genuinely concerned this is something that will go, you know, a week down the line, I'll be like, half my GPU time is spent rendering the smoke. So is white, is bright red all the red, or black? Because this to me appears to be arse backwards. We crank that right up to just 100%.
Right, so it has no dark end.
I wonder if this might be to do with the radius of the light. Still bollocks. So again, the particles below the light are facing the camera and therefore receiving the light. The particles above the light are not receiving any light because obviously the light's coming through. This is just what's called PBR, which is a fancy term, means physically based rendering, which just is a fancy pants term for hand waving away specular power and specular size. This is not acting in a physical way. This is the problem. This is
where's your... Doesn't make any sense at all.
I don't know anyone I can talk to about this, so I am left with try A, try B, try A, then B, try C, try A, B, then C. Right, so this is the bamboo leaves. Oh, that actually appears to be... That's perfect with that. There you go, solved. All I need to do is use the bamboo leaf.
What the hell?
I don't know. But let's see what bamboo leaves is set up like, shall we? Because, again, I'm going to have to solve this issue again. It's a thin object with a transmission tint of something with a remap value of 20. Again, if I just...
what about that pre and post?
It is in real time, look. So there's the answer. I just need to make the thickness remap very small.
You dragged that thickness remap value down low earlier and it didn't do it as well.
Oh, let's see what else is different in the bamboo profile. It's still borked. So this isn't bamboo. This is a copy of the bamboo one. I reassign the actual bamboo one. Right. So that's bamboo. I'm just going to duplicate that one. I now make a duplicate of skin, and I'm going to rename it to face. I haven't changed it. I've just duplicated what you see on screen. And then I'm going to assign face, because it's a great name. It has to restart the particle system. Compile. 6. I haven't changed skin. All I have done is duplicated it. It's different in some way. The duplicate
There's more to it.
It's not acting.
It's linked to something.
Bamboo Leaves is my one, and Bamboo Leaves 1 is my copy. They should be exactly. I'm very happy when I can just blitz through making shit happen as opposed to going, why is this wrong? This is a bug in Unity now. There's no way this is not a bug in Unity. I mean, to be fair, I'm done. That works. I'm happy. I don't need to worry about it for the moment. They'll probably fix it. That does do real-time updates. I think you kind of have said the right thing. I think it's just pointing at some bollocks. It's not pointing at this. It's just pointing off into the blue yonder. I understand the issue. I would like to continue to use this because I have an awful lot of support architecture that I would rather not have to rewrite. I know I have to sooner or later, but I'd rather not today. The fact that in the HDRP profile you specified the budget for the subsurface scattering rays. Tells me kind of all I really need to know about how cheap it is or it isn't.
I bet you can have that really low though, because you're not doing like looking at the pores on someone's skin. You're doing smoke in a room.
It might be worse because it's bigger and you get big discontinuities. But
what's flashing? What's flashing? That looks cool.
Sparkles. For some reason is very shiny. Shouldn't be. It's smoke. You were asking about. So the boxes are now showing specular, like the box the particles rendering on. I've never heard of octagon rendering before. It makes sense, and because fill rate is very expensive.
There must be diminishing returns though, right? Otherwise you'd use circles for circular particles.
What I used to do with the Projectorgames renderer was use triangles, because vert count was more expensive than fill count. What's changed now is you can parallelize shader stuff better than you can parallelize vert stuff. You kind of do all the vert stuff under the bits. So that's why the fire looks good, because it's just a right. I'm still, as I said, utterly terrified about using this in a commercial project, because this is demo territory to my mind now. Now, at least with the flames, it's easy because it's additive rendering, doesn't need to be lit.
The other thing is that realistic looking doesn't necessarily make for better game, because there's a stylistic choice to make. Like if your game is about putting out fire, it might be better if the fire looks more, not cartoony, but more kind of defined than real.
Mostly I want it to look cool. Personal overriding factor.
I would want it to feel like you're putting it out. I don't really feel that like in Ember, by the way. I don't feel that connected to the fire.
In Ember, the fire was kind of an irrelevancy that you just tried to ignore while you nicked stuff. Instead, I'm going to have to go in a few minutes. I hope you have enjoyed it.
Can you just scale the gizmo like you did with the display, with the visual?
Yeah, but I try not to. Just trying to work out what the hell's going on. Oh, the flames last 50 seconds. There we go. Got my mojo. I think it's actually 4 different particles. Animation single row. System. Partly I'm good at it, but partly I can... And so I'm just scaling down that cone, and then I could make the cone longer or whatever. Like it's not quite necessarily that I understand it. I don't want to embrace new things. This is just a better system. Objectively better and more easy to do. Color over lifetime. Because it's that, we can fade to black. I would get a job just doing particles. The old system, not the new one. It is a multiplayer game where stuff catches fire and you have to put it out. And then there is other stuff. I want it to look shiny with fancy particle effects. It's got to be multiplayer and have VR support. Right now, and as soon as this is done, I'm going. I can set something on fire. You can see it begins to burn. It makes stuff near it get hotter. As they get hot, they start to make other things catch fire. Now, I hadn't got as far as making the particles work because, as you understood, that was a little bit more difficult than I thought. So I will revisit this. I will probably do some work off stream as well. If you want me to do more dev streams of non-Fortress Craft stuff, do let me know, because I don't feel that people really give a shit if it's not Fortress Craft, but I might be wrong. You might just be like, please stream your crap all the time, in which case I might.